Hey, I've said it before, you're a primetime player. I can't wait to see the fire that you bring off of that jet lag.
Well, you're not going to have to wait long, Greg, because we're officially live on Facebook for the Thursday edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show, the JWB Rental Income Property of the Week. How's that for fire, buddy? I am your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, the man that they call GC because of his genius concepts, because he generates cash flows, because he's a great co-host, and because his name is Gregg Cohen. Say hello, Greg.
Hello, everybody. Great to be with you.
And it is great to be with you, buddy. It is great to be with the JWB Not Your Average Investor Show family. If you are looking to know more about if you are looking to own rental income properties, you're in the right place. If you're looking to find out about the best property management that exists in Jacksonville and maybe learn a little bit about property management for yourself, you're in the right place. And if you're a real estate professional looking for an edge in the Jacksonville market, for you and your clients to get some wins on the boards together, you're in the right place. And right now, people in the right place. You ready for the roll call, GC?
Game on.
Here comes the roll call. Lee Bishop. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back, Lee. Jen Filson. Good morning, JWB family from the Monterey Peninsula. Drew Barnhill coming from outside of Atlanta. Good afternoon, all. Carl Thompson. Good morning, everybody. John Henning. Good afternoon, all. Leo is back. Good morning, all, with his patented good morning, all from California. Nadeem Shah coming in from Oregon with his, Washington State with his good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Who else we got? Peter. Hey to you, Peter. And who else? Anybody else checking in? I think we got Marilyn Cotterman saying, hey, folks, she's coming in from the beautiful Homosassa, Florida.
Home of the manatees.
Home of the manatees, indeed. We got Joel Reese. Aloha to you, Joel. Good to have you back. Who else we got? Let me see. Greg Stone is in the house. Wow, such energy. Howdy, Greg Stone. Good to have you. Raja Bantu's back. Good to have you back, Raja. Herv Francois from the lovely New Jersey. He's back. Welcome back, Herv. Daniel Lee. Hi, all. Good to have you. I think we got everybody, man. That was a great little roll call.
The roll call gets better and better every single week. I mean, it's like one of the things I really look forward to, getting to say hello to all of our friends and all the fans of the show. This is amazing, man.
I do too, man. I do too. I'm glad we've officially added it as a tradition. John Moran, I missed you. Hey there, John. Good to see you. John is clearly experienced here because he knows the trick to the chat. When you are first opting in here, it is defaulted to only panelists, but you got to drop it down and hit panelists and attendees so everybody can chat with each other. This is an interactive show. We also got the Q&A. If you want to ask GC a question, you want to have it asked on air, put it in the Q&A. That is really just to help my limited abilities of keeping track of so many things. And we're going to get into the property of the week in a second. But right now, GC, you got some breaking news?
I do. Thank you for that amazing introduction to the breaking news. Yeah. So, every month we review the market metrics internally. So I sit down with my business partners on Wednesday, and a part of our agenda is to go over the market. And from this meeting, this is where I share it with all of you on the show. And we do even do a show every quarter as far as our real estate update. So I was just in the meeting with Alex yesterday, and he shared some of the numbers with you. So thought I'd just share them with everybody here, so everybody, is up to the minute kind of what the market is doing. So this is the data from June. So the end of June here. And for anybody who's new to the show, this has been an ongoing dialogue of lack of supply in the real estate market, very high demand in the real estate market, driven by low interest rates and population growth in Jacksonville. And when you have high demand and low supply, that means prices go up. And so that has been the dialogue. And guess what? That's going to be the dialogue this day as well. So I'm pulling up some of the stats here, so you have to forgive me as I look down here, but I'm just giving you exactly what we've seen here from the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors, MLS here. So in June in Jacksonville, we had a median home price of $300,000. To put that in context, that's the highest ever median home price that we have had in Jacksonville. We had 3,568 sales, and that's the second highest ever that we have had. The highest ever was last July. So, to put this in context, we had never had 3,000 sales in any month in Jacksonville's history prior to June of last year. So we are still really strong when it comes to sales. We actually have some metrics in place. We can kind of like see where we're trending for July, as you know, obviously we're well into July now, and we're pretty good at kind of estimating where we'll be. It's looking like July is tracking right with those same types of numbers as well. You know, slightly over 300,000 for the median home sales price is kind of what we're thinking. And then we should end, we have 1,625 sales to date here in July. So that should put us at around 3,300 sales for the end of July. Staggering numbers signifying very high demand, high housing prices. They continue to go up. This will be the story, especially in the short run. And you know, the show is about how you can take advantage of that as a rental property investor, because there are certainly ways to increase your rates of return knowing this.
Astronomical numbers, man. So at what point does Jacksonville catch the national median average, right? Like a lot of the story that we talk about on the show is that Jacksonville is below the national median in home prices. And this is the first time that I hear over 300,000, right? So like that was always one of those like line of demarcation numbers for me that like my brain just didn't. I'm like, oh, under 3 is so cheap. Where are we with that? Do you have any idea?
Well, the big news is that as Jacksonville is going up, the national median home sales price, of course, is going up as well.
I figured.
Right. I don't have the actual national median in front of me. You know what? I'll do a little research and I'll come prepared with that in the future here so we can see. But I know that we're still well below. Right. Okay. Jacksonville is known as an affordable market. Right. We have our median home sales price is still below the national median. The reason that I know that just without even looking at the numbers is, you know, geez, the last time I looked at it was probably a quarter ago, and our median home sales price was somewhere around 275 or so, 280, and the median home sales price for the US was somewhere around 365. So we had a long way to go. And that's one reason why we can still get positive cash flow here. The other thing to take into account is that as we look at the property of the week today, you'll see that the neighborhoods that we are in those below middle income neighborhoods, which means below median home sales price typically for a market. So you're not going to see $300,000 properties here, while that may be the median home sales price in Jacksonville. The property of the week's price today is going to be $206,000, and that's generally where we are, that $200,000 to $275,000 range, and that's why we're able to get positive cash flow still.
There you go. That's a great update. So all things looking up. Well, I've got an update myself. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Just one more thing. I totally forgot. I mean, we always talk about months of inventory. This is months of inventory is the way to track where we see pricing going in the short run. And real quick explainer, you know, mention on it. If you have less than 6 months of inventory, that would signify higher than normal home price appreciation. We have been insanely low. So this conversation of low supply, high demand, high price increases is largely related to this metric called months of inventory. Less than 6, and the lower that it goes signifies higher than normal home price appreciation. We had never been this low coming out of COVID. We have been at 2 months of inventory, even 1 month of inventory. And I've got all the metrics here for the last year I'm looking at, but you know, last month, our months of inventory was 1.08 months of inventory. And then in June, it's 1.14 months of inventory. So still incredibly low. That's why I'm really confident prices are going to still go up in the short run.
Super, super low months of inventory means higher than normal home price appreciation in the short run, right? We've been hammering that home, still super low. I've got an update on the roll call because we got Bill Shields checking in with his trademark Buenas tardes, amigos. Buenas tardes, Bill Shields to you. Lou Carlson from Summers, Connecticut is back. Welcome back, Lou. And Ronald Branch asked a great question of where do I go to get in contact with a rep at JWB, which I did not say in the intro. That's easy. You're in the right place right now to learn, but your next step is you go to chatwithjwb.com. If you want to hop on the call with the team, that is an exploratory call to just figure out your goals and figure out how to contextualize all the stuff that we're talking about for your long-term plan and portfolios. Hetty Pritchard, good to see you as well. Hetty and Ron, both of you, when you were chatting, it's only defaulted to talk to me and Greg, right? Because that's the default. You got to change the panelists and attendees so everybody else gets to see you and you can make a new friend and you can get a bunch of opinions on the chat. And what's going beep, 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 beep. We got another update, Greg. I heard that there is some proprietary data that JWB has uncovered. Can you share that with us?
So as you guys are hearing prices going up, you might be saying, well, like you said, Pablo, when do we get to a point where, you know, we're not able to get positive cash flow, right? That needs to be on the minds of folks, right? Because, you know, rents I mean, prices going up, you got to have enough cash flow coming in somewhere. Well, the state of things right now in real estate is that prices have gone up across the country and in Jacksonville. And when that happens, what tends to happen secondarily is that rents go up, because eventually people get, for a number of reasons, they can't afford the new house prices, or especially lately, it's challenging to buy a house, and people give up and they say, well, I'm just going to go and rent. And so usually what you'll see is that there will be a bump in rent prices secondarily to home prices. And that has been what we have seen as well. We've been looking at some of the national reports, and we wanted to do our own proprietary, micro level reporting on our rent growth. And, one of the things that makes it a little bit difficult for us to do is because we sign long-term leases, which is a wonderful thing for owners. You want your residents to stay long-term. It's tough for us to say, well, year over year rent growth, what would it be if somebody's in a home for 3, 4, 5 years? What we can do is we started to look at the properties that turned over this year, and then what were we then able to rent those properties out for now based on the current market? And the numbers are staggering. They're really, really high. So just to give you some numbers here, this was over the last 50 property turns. We have started that process of tracking that in real time, and we're going to continue to add those numbers. So I'll happy to report on it. But over the last 50 property turns, that means that a resident left, JWB then fixed that home up, put it back on the market at a new rent. We've achieved 8% rent growth just over the last 50 property turns. I mean, that is staggering. That is one way that we're able to still capture positive cash flow in Jacksonville. And right now, if you're investing in real estate, you are like going with the stream here. Like there is a stream of, wealth creation, really, and you're in the driver's seat. If you have a hard asset like a house right now, where there is very low supply, there's low supply for purchasing a home, and there's low supply for renting a home. So all signs are pointing towards owning hard assets right now as being a very positive thing for you in your financial future.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we talked about the whole benefit of hard assets based on what is going on in the economy on Tuesday with Jason DeBono, and made a ton of sense. It's good to know that that cash flow is going to continue to preserve right now and is going to continue to increase. And that, I mean, when I think about that as somebody that's already bought my home, it's phenomenal, right? Because that just means my cash flow is going up, period, based on what I'm already in for, right?
Absolutely. When you made that, you absolutely nailed it. When you made your decision, your interest rate was even lower when you purchased back in the day than it could be today. And you had no idea the type of price growth that you were going to be a part of by owning the asset. And you had no idea the type of the rent growth that, you would expect if and when your resident moves out. Those are those other profit centers that we try so hard to shed light on. Like, you can win in owning rental properties just based on what this property evaluation that we're going to look at today shows. But then you have all of these other outs. And right now, the market dynamics are setting up so well for you to prosper really mightily in those other profit centers. And that's why I think a lot of the show is really about shedding light on that. And it's something that a lot of rental property investors just don't understand.
All right, Greg, then I think it's time we shed a little bit of light out here, buddy. You ready to be magically whisked away here to 8132 No Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32210. Are you punking me with that address, man? Is it really
You love
No
that,
Road?
huh? You love No Road.
No
That's
Road.
it. Anybody can go to the City of Jacksonville website, coj.net, look up No Road.
Look up No Road.
It's a road.
Listen, before you go to coj.net, go to jwbinventory.com. You can download this exact spreadsheet that we're looking at right now, and you can use it for whatever you'd like, right? You can play along with us at home here as we fiddle with the spreadsheet. You can use it to evaluate your own deals, but we highly recommend you take a minute, go to jwbinventory.com, download this comparison so that you have it for yourself. You can play along here at home as Greg and I fiddle with it. So Greg, let's do the usual here, right? So I like identifying the features of the home. It's got a purchase price of $206,000. Like you said, a solid almost $100,000 below the median price of homes, right? So this is a lower income neighborhood with upside. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 2-car garage. The picture shown is a model of that JWB has built over and over. So this is what the house would look like, but it's not what it looks like right now. And again, what investors come for in this asset class: the estimated conventional financing total monthly cash flow of $119 and the estimated conventional financing total return on investment of 7.4%. Gregg, do you want to talk us through what this total monthly cash flow represents?
I would love to. Monthly cash flow is the first thing to pay attention to when you're considering investing in a rental property. And the reason is because rental property investing can be wonderful for you. But there is a way that people get way too speculative with it, right? The way to win in rental property investing is to buy an asset that pays for itself every single month and have wonderful management that you actually enjoy working with, and then to hold on for a full market cycle. And if you don't mitigate your risk, then you're not going to be around for a full market cycle. So that's why positive cash flow is so important. It's not the end all be all, but it's the first place I want you to look. Specifically, what that means is we're taking on a monthly basis, we're looking at a normal month for you, and we're saying we want to make sure that we have enough rental income, net rental income that comes in to play after all of those expenses that we have. And the reason is because, again, when you have something that pays for itself every single month, that's the best form of risk mitigation. Compare this to your other investment alternatives. It's very rare that you have an investment out there that produces monthly positive cash flow for you, right? In the stock market, dividends are very, very rare, and you certainly don't get dividends that actually produce a significant amount of rental, a significant amount of income. And the other thing, and this is what escapes a lot of people as well, in the stock market, even if you do get a dividend, you're not able to take out leverage typically in the stock market. And if you do, it's really expensive. The type of rental property that we're talking about here gives you positive monthly cash flow while you've taken debt out. And after those expenses on a monthly basis that come in with the debt. So you get positive income, probably more than you would in a share of stock, and that's covering the debt payment for you. You're able to take advantage of other people's money, which you typically cannot do in the stock market. So that's the first thing to pay attention to, this cash flow. It's a threshold. It's not the end all be all, but you want to be investing in assets that pay for themselves every single month for risk mitigation and also scalability. Because if you are looking for this to be an asset class that you want to have a significant part of your financial well-being in, you're going to need to have more than one property or 3 properties or 10 properties. And if you go negative every single month and you have 10 properties, you're going to have some sleepless nights and you're going to be speculating. And that's not what we're in the business of.
Gregg, I applaud you for constantly evolving the way that you explain this, right? Like at first we were just talking about how positive cash flow is something you need to look for, right? It is the entry level thing before you invest in investment. In rental properties, the way that I describe arm strength for quarterbacks in the NFL. Then you started talking about how positive cash flow allows it to be scalable. This idea that if you're being, you don't have to come out of pocket every month. It means that you can add 10, 20 properties. So it's not, limiting you more and more. But I like this. Now you're talking about it as the positive cash flow is if you were to compare it to an asset class that everybody is familiar with and is kind of, if you're on this call, you understand the limitations of it, which is the stock market, right? You are looking at this as if this was a dividend stock. The cash flow is the dividend, which happens every single month, not just, quarterly or whatever, whenever the dividends are paid out. And when you're betting on a stock, you're betting on the appreciation of a stock. But here, what you're betting on is this very controlled environment that is created that allows you to get this 7.4% return. And then there's appreciation down here, right? So I like how you are contextualizing to the different elements for a dividend stock versus a rental income property and how it all goes, man. So I like that explanation a lot. So then if $119 is that thing that makes it scalable, it's that dividend, it's the average experience every month that you get, on a typical month, that's what you get in your pocket. How does that, what does the 7.4% total ROI and conventional financing represent?
So that's why both of these are so important to look at. The first threshold to cross to consider this is that $119 a month, a monthly cash flow. But you also need to look big picture. You need to look at all of the profit centers. And that 7.4% takes into account all of the profit centers, and we'll even show how we evaluate one specifically here. But what it's basically saying is, what am I doing with my money? What is my money earning for me? Right? That's where that return on investment really needs to be your guiding principle of how you're making your investment decision. So 7.4%, basically it reflects what happens on a normal month. It also takes into account some additional profit centers that you may not be thinking of. And then it also takes into account additional expenses that happen. They just don't happen every single month. So specifically what I'm talking about as far as the additional profit centers, you've got your estimated tax savings, you've got your principal pay down, and then you also have home price appreciation, which we'll talk about a little bit more here. And then on the expenses side, you have your maintenance cost, your vacancy cost, your tenant placement fees. These are things that do not happen every single month. So those are not included in your typical monthly cash flow, but they do happen over time, and they need to be included in your total return on investment. So you take all of those things into it and you divide it by your initial investment, and that's how you'll get to that 7.4%. But Pablo, help me out with the appreciation perspective there. There clearly that has a 0% home price appreciation rate factored in there. And
clearly,
you think we go into that now, or think we wait?
I don't see why not, Greg. You were talking about all the different profit centers. You have appreciation here at 0%, even though we all know that this is one of the reasons that you come to Jacksonville. You want to explain to us why it's valued here at 0%? By the way, before you explain that, let's get the questions rolling. Usually what happens on the show is you wait till the last moment to get into Q&A, and then we don't get to answer everything. So if you have any questions, start popping them into the Q&A. We'd love to get them answered by Greg. But yeah, Greg, answer my question now.
There we go. So we have built this spreadsheet so that it does take into account all 5 profit centers. And so when you go to jwbinventory.com and download the spreadsheet for yourself, it is built in there, but it's also able to be changed. The home price appreciation rate is able to be changed. And that's important because home price appreciation is something that you should be taking into account if you are investing for a full market cycle, which is known to be between 10 to 20 years. Where a lot of investors make mistakes is that they either count on home price appreciation in the short run, or they just totally throw home price appreciation out and said, I'm not going to think about it one way or another. Both of those can be very detrimental to your overall financial gains in this asset class. The first thing that people do typically is they count too much on home price appreciation. And they say, well, if I'm only going to own it for a few years, let me count on 3% or 4%. Well, that doesn't always play. Home price appreciation in the short run, call it 3 years, 5 years, even up to 10 years. You know what? You're speculating. What has been shown over history is if you look at 10, 15, 20-year segments of time, you're able to see a correlation between what that appreciation rate is on average over those years and tie that back to what the historical home price appreciation rate is. So saying this another way, if you know what the historical home price appreciation rate is and you plan to hold on for 10, 15, 20 years, then you can actually count on it and put it into your evaluations. The reason why we don't put it in there is for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't know how long you're going to hold on to your property. And I'm a very big proponent of under promising and over delivering. And so if you listen to me and you plan to hold on for 10 or 20 years, then I think you could and you should be using home price appreciation. And that should be what Jacksonville has appreciated over the last 30 years on average, which happens to be 4.3%. If you're not, then I don't think you do. I think you keep it at 0%. And that's, of course, a big reason why I advise clients, just like myself, to buy and hold for the long haul. That's why you win so much more when you buy and hold over the long haul, because you can actually count on home price appreciation to be pretty close to what it has done over history.
So let's say I have a friend who's been to the Not Your Average Investor show a couple of times. He's listening to your advice. He's going to hold on for the long term. So we're going to put in 4.3% here. And voila, this thing goes from 7% to 23%. Greg, you want to explain how that astronomical jump just happened right there?
Yes, this is the beauty of smart debt. This is the beauty of leverage. And we even go back to the beginning of this conversation where I was comparing it against a stock and getting a dividend. This is why I love rental properties so much, because you can take out leverage. You can borrow other people's money in a way that mitigates risk. And you can get the advantages of using somebody else's money, the bank's money, but you still are able to mitigate risk, right? What we talked about with cash flow is you're able to take out debt. You have expenses for that. You have a mortgage payment for that, but the rent covers it and then some. Well, the advantages of taking out debt, leverage, using other people's money, it's all the same thing here, is that as home prices go up, if you are in for the long haul, as home prices go up over the next 10 to 20 years at a clip of, call it a little bit about right around 4% on average per year, that 4% is not your gain from your home price appreciation. That 4% is actually multiplied by 4 when you're only putting a quarter of the money down. Say that over again, right? If you are investing in a property and that property is worth $100,000 today, and that value of that property goes up 4%, that home is now worth $104,000. You earned 4% on the gain and $4,000 if you bought it in cash. But if you used smart debt and you put 25% down, that $4,000 that it went up in market value is now actually a 16% return on investment from home price appreciation. You take 4,000, you divide it by your initial investment, which is not 100,000. Now it's 25,000. So 4,000 divided by 25,000, if you run your numbers in your calculator right now, you'll see that it's 16%. So you can take advantage of this in a growth market like Jacksonville and do it in a risk mitigated fashion. That's why I love rental properties.
I love rental properties for that reason too. And now that I think about it, it really just comes down to, you always run that same example of 25% of 100,000. It really just comes down to, if you're putting 25% down, if you're putting a quarter of it down and getting appreciation on all of it, you get to multiply the appreciation rate by 4. If you're putting 20% down, which is a fifth of it, then you get to multiply the appreciation rate by 5.
Nailed it.
Right? Yeah. That's I never really done that simple math. All right, GC, we got some Q&A for you. You ready, buddy?
Love it.
Drew Barnhill says, how much do you think that 2-car garage is responsible for the rent potential?
You know, we love putting garages, especially in new construction homes. It certainly gets a premium. I don't exactly know how much. I think it'd be more of a feel thing for me, but you know, $25, maybe $50 a month.
Okay. That's a feel thing. And then the idea that some of the houses have garage and some don't. Do you want to kind of talk about the thinking behind who gets a garage and who doesn't?
Well, the new construction homes that we build have garages. I don't remember the last time that we built a new construction home which doesn't have a garage. So if it's a new construction home, we're going to do that. That doesn't mean that if you own a rental property that doesn't have a garage, that it's a bad move. In fact, I probably own more rental properties that do not have garages than ones that do in my own portfolio. That's because I've been investing for 15 years now and built up a rental portfolio of a lot of renovated homes and have continued to add new construction, but probably by and large, I have renovated homes in my own portfolio. I love them both. What you just have to know is that your returns, that your rent price takes into account whether or not it has a garage. So if you're in a neighborhood and every other home in that neighborhood has a garage, well, you're probably going to want a garage for your rental property, or you're going to have a significantly lower rent price for that home. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if there was a neighborhood that had all garages and I had the opportunity to buy the one house that had a garage converted into living space and the numbers worked, I would do it. I don't see a problem with it, but I would have to discount the rent to make sure that I could still get positive cash flow, knowing that I was going to get significantly less rent. So the same thing, many of our clients are on the show right now. Many of you own homes that are renovations because you've been clients for 5 years, 10 years plus, and they don't have a garage. Nothing wrong with that. We've already taken into account what the rent has been in relation to what it could be if it had a garage. And that's the rent that we showed you. Like the rent minus the premium for a garage is what is given to you on your evaluation. And so you're in a good spot there. And the other thing to take into account, that rent price growth, that 8% that I talked about, that includes homes with garages, without garages. That's not all just new construction. That's renovations, that's new construction, garage, no garage. So they all have been going up. And that's important to know. Sometimes we get locked into our own head and said, well, geez, if I wouldn't rent that house because it doesn't have a garage, it can't appreciate in rent value or in home price. And that's just not the case.
Got it. All right. Yeah. I know that neither of mine have garages, and Jen Filson says that few homes in Monterey have garages, and Renee and her are one of the lucky few to have one, and they converted it into a dance studio. We love to seeing your dance videos in the Facebook group, Jen. So happy that you got that.
I was watching one the other night, man. I just tuned into Facebook and I saw Jen and Renee dance. It just puts a smile on my face, you know?
It's my favorite content on Facebook, easily. So if you can click into Jen and Renee dancing, it's good stuff. All right. So Daniel Lee has a question. Hi, GC and Pablo. Currently in early discussions with the JWB team, and things are going great. Awesome to hear. I wanted to ask about home size. With work from home becoming more popular, tenants are looking for that extra bedroom. Is JWB considering building larger homes for your new construction? Most of the properties I've seen in your inventory the past webinars are 3.2s.
You know, great question. We always let the market dictate demand and supply, right? That will dictate how much rent we can get, and ultimately what cash flow we can provide, and ultimately what return on investment for you. So the market's always going to tell us, well, right now, while you are right that macro wise, people would like to have more space because of the COVID world that we're living in and all of that, the reality right now is that there is such a lack of supply for housing, and that is dominating every conversation. There's a lack of supply in housing for rent. There's a lack of supply in housing for purchase. You know, that month of inventory number that I was sharing with you is reflective of that lack of supply. So I think in a perfect world, if you're a home buyer out there and you're saying, well, yeah, I probably would like to have more space today as a home buyer than I did a year ago. And then you're smacked in the face with, there's no inventory out there and beggars can't be choosers. And this, you know, this is the reality for you as somebody who owns a hard asset right now. You're in the driver's seat. So that's kind of the macro answer I would have, is the market dictates it. And right now, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes are really, really appealing to somebody, no matter how they can get them, especially a brand new construction one, no matter how they can get them. At the end of the day, also, if I take it out a little bit farther, you know, I can't imagine a world where a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in a below middle income neighborhood like we focus on is not really appealing. You know, when we're talking about new, you know, additional space that people really want, you know, probably your above middle income type of neighborhoods are probably, you know, going in that direction more, right? People here are focusing on a really wonderful living situation that they have, you know, and 3 beds and 2 baths is going to be very accommodating for them for the foreseeable future, even though what you're saying is right. And people, you know, generally do want more space.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to clarify that, right? Like this idea that in the below middle income rental resident class, they're probably not at the level where they have the luxury to be like, oh, I want my extra office, I want my extra studio. They're a little lower on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and they are looking for space for their each kid to have a bedroom, or like 2 kids and, you know, 2 and 1 or whatever, right? Like there's not a lot of people that are moving into these that are requiring a home office based on who the profile is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right. Another great question from Daniel Lee. He asks, can you also talk about your finishes on new builds, structure, flooring, appliances, etc.?
Sure. You know, I'll give you what I know, which is, you know, I'm not the construction guy. So what I would generally do is tell you to have more of those detailed conversations with a member of my team. And it sounds like you are. Everybody on the show probably knows now when we talk about actual construction work, like that's where GC's like, ooh, all right, let's get you with the experts. So
it's not GC for general contractor. Notice.
So I do know about the finishes. You know, we do a lot to make sure that your home is built to be lived in for 4 or 5 years by a family and can withstand that, and make sure that your maintenance and vacancy costs are lower. That's really how you win here, right? You want your resident to be staying a long time, but you have to build the house or renovate the house so that the materials in there can withstand it, so that you don't have a lot of repairs along the way, right? So we put hardwood a hard surface in your living areas. That can be hardwood or tile. Generally, it's luxury vinyl plank flooring in the living areas. For this home and any of our new construction homes, we actually put granite in the kitchens. And that's an additional expense that JWB bears. We technically wouldn't have to, right? Your resident doesn't need granite, but we do that because we want to reduce your maintenance costs long term. Granite is much more sturdy than Formica countertops, and there's an advantage, of course, for a resident's going to walk in and think, wow, I get granite countertops. That's amazing, right? So, and then appliances, it's your standard appliance package. It's not going to be stainless steel or anything like that. It's just going to be standard appliances that are just well made and, are not going to have additional maintenance items. That's the end of the day. That's what we're looking for. We want to have a really sturdy quality product that lowers your maintenance costs long term and makes people want to sign a 2 or 3 year lease, which is not normal for a resident. And so some of these things really help.
Yeah. So simply said, hard surfaces that are easy to maintain and low impact on kind of like keeping it up and having to replace it for ROI. Great. Ian Zhao, welcome Ian to the call. This is the first time I see you here. He has been asking some good questions here in the chat privately, but he puts it in the Q&A. Does rent include utilities?
So utilities are paid by the resident. So the resident will pay your rent to you, and they will also have a utility bill to pay in addition.
There you go. So as an investor, I don't have to worry about utilities. The renter is paying for it, right? The resident's paying.
That's true. Let me give you a little bit additional, right? So big picture, could you ever be responsible for a utility bill? Absolutely, as the owner. So what many people don't think about is when your resident leaves and we're putting a new resident in your home, maybe it takes a month or maybe 2 months by the time they move in, you still need to keep the utilities on there. So that could be your utility bill. And when a resident's in there, it's expressly related in the lease that utilities are their responsibility. And then that's one of the main reasons we want to get wonderful people living in your homes.
There you go. There you go. All right. And I've had a couple questions here in the chat. If you want questions answered individually, you want to get a hold of the team, the perfect place to go is chatwithjwb.com. You just fill out the time of day. It's a live calendar. You pick whatever time is most convenient to you, and you onboard a call real quickly, and you can get your questions answered individually. It's a really, really good experience. So Gregg, we are at the point of the show when a ton of questions just came in. You ready, buddy?
Game on.
It's on. All right,
Clockwork.
Peter. Huh?
Like clockwork.
Like clockwork, right? Peter is asking, would you mind talking a little bit more about the No Road neighborhood? Thanks.
Yes, I would love to. Pablo, any chance you have the map that shows all the JWB properties? It's been a long time since.
It's been a while since I pulled it up.
All right. Well, so this is on the west side, and oh man, I was going to think if there was a way. No doubt. What I'll do is I'll put the map that I'm talking about. I'll put this in the group afterwards. So if you're a member of the group, you can go to jwbfacebookgroup.com. You'll see this map that I sort of teased out here, and I'm not going to be able to show you here. But what we do for any of the clients that are purchasing homes with us, going through the onboarding process, one of the coolest parts is be able to look at the properties that we've recommended for you in relation to where they are in Jacksonville, and also in relation to where all properties are for clients that have invested with us since the beginning of time, since the beginning of JWB. And so there's over 2,000 properties that are really in very small, compact neighborhoods. There's only 4 neighborhoods in Jacksonville that we invest in. And there's 2,000 plus data points of investors out there who are experiencing success, just like this house and just like the ones you're considering as well. So there are about 30, 50 other homes. I took a look at the map even before I jumped on here, right within about a half-mile radius of other JWB clients that currently own rental properties right around this home on No Road. It's on the west side of Jacksonville. And it's Cedar Hills. That's a subsection of the west side. It's one of the most densely populated JWB neighborhoods that we have. So a lot of success around there, and you'd just be plugging right into it. The really cool thing that I wanted to talk about, though, is I like to talk about the neighborhoods that we invest in and why. And it comes down to 3 things: low prices, high rents, and job creators. And so here you can see low prices, right? Your median home sales price in Jacksonville is $300,000. Well, your price here in this neighborhood is far from that. It's 206,000. So you got low prices there. High rents. Well, you can see on the form there that the rental income for this property is $1,300 on a monthly basis. It's a high rent number for a $206,000 property. So you got low prices, high rents. The next thing is jobs. So we focus on a couple of the job creators on the west side. There's our largest military base, which is called NAS Jax, which has over 20,000 jobs. That's probably, I don't know, 5-10 miles away from this house on No Road. But the one that I wanted to focus on is in the Cecil Commerce Center, which is about 6 miles west of this property. And the number one tenant that I guess the tenant that gets the most, publicity is a little company called Amazon. And Amazon came in, and their very first distribution facility that they built in Jacksonville was in 2017. And that was the largest single day announcement of jobs in Jacksonville's history. Still is. 1,500 jobs in this facility on the west side, about 6 miles from here, for jobs that are perfect for your long-term residents, right? Now, Amazon came in and they had to get a ton of incentive. We had to give them a ton of incentives to come. And you would do that, right? Cities bend over backwards to get Amazon to come in. And we did that in 2017. To date, we are now on our 10th Amazon facility in Jacksonville, just since 2017.
Wow.
10 times. And you know how much incentive dollars we have to give them now? Zero.
Not much.
Nothing. We didn't have to give them any incentives. I think it was definitely not after the first two. It might not even been after the first one. The first one came here in 1,500 jobs in 2017. About 6 months later, they put another distribution facility right near another JWB neighborhood in the north side, which had 1,200 jobs. I don't know specifically, but I don't think we had to give them any incentives for that one. They have really made a significant investment in Jacksonville. And the reason that they are doing this is because Jacksonville is a logistics hub. You can reach 94 million people within one day from Jacksonville because of the port of Jacksonville, because of the rails, because of the interstate system, because of the location we are in Northeast Florida. So 94 million people, that's why Amazon came here. They love our business-friendly environment, and they have 10x'd their investment in Jacksonville. And what that means to you is significant job creators, 1,500 perfect jobs for your long-term residents. And that's just one of the tenants at Cecil Commerce Center. There are a number of other tenants out there 6 miles away. I just happen to pick Amazon. This is what creates stability and long-term growth for you, and to make sure that you have a resident in place for the long haul, right? And rent growth and home price appreciation. This is at the core of it, why we choose this neighborhood.
There you go. So to answer your question, Peter, this is the quintessential JWB neighborhood. And just like all the other JWB neighborhoods, it's bolstered by big job creators that are going to feed your property residents for the life of your ownership. All right. Leo's got a question. What is the average price at this time for new construction, single family residences, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom? Sorry, I was in a team meeting at work earlier.
Oh, Leo, it's great to have you, buddy. And you just absolutely crushed it last week on the show, Leo. Thank you so much for being such a big part of the show here. We love you, buddy. And I especially loved seeing the picture of you in your band back in the day. I don't know if you saw this, Leo or Pablo. Leo and I were swapping, big hair pictures in the group here.
No, I missed it.
Oh man, you're gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah.
You definitely beat me.
I'll blame it on Vegas.
So, oh man, I was thinking about Leo's big hair. What was the question again? Average prices. Oh man.
What is the average hair size price? House price.
So your average prices are going to be between about 200,000 to 275,000 for a JWB property. I'd say your average price is going to be somewhere around 225, give or take, and that's where we can produce positive cash flow for you.
Sounds good. Listen, Peter said that he loved the answer and he hopes that No Road is still available. Any insight into that, GC?
It is.
It is.
There is. I just checked with the team. You know what? I was stepping up my preparation. Usually I don't know the answer to that one. It is. So if you'd like to reach out, Ian, we'd love to have those conversations with you.
Yeah, that was Peter. So Peter, go to chatwithjwb.com, hop on the schedule. But full caveat is the idea that whatever is available right now, there is other widgets just like it. That is, if it's not this house, it's another one that performs the same way in the same neighborhood at a similar price point.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Greg?
You're 100% right. I mean, just to set the right expectations, you really hopefully are falling in love with the team, the market, the model, right? The properties are just the widgets. That's why, you don't see Pablo and I up here every single week saying, buy this one today. This is the last of the greatest of, it's not sales. Because at the end of the day, by the time that you get on the phone with our team, which would be very quickly, we're going to want to have a few conversations with you. And our properties do go quickly. Typically, it's about 3 days on the market before they sell. So very likely that even though this one is available right now, by the time you have that conversation or a few conversations, we're not going to rush it. We're really just not, because at the end of the day, there's going to be other properties that are just like this one on No Road that we're going to be able to recommend for you as well. So there you go.
Jen says in the chat, yay, No Road is still available. Good luck with a pizza delivery though.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. We don't rush things, but we do have 3 questions left, and I want to get you out of here on time. You ready?
Love it.
Her Francois asks, there has been a lot of news regarding institutional buyers getting heavily involved in the single-family home sector, purchasing thousands of single-family homes at one time in a given area. Does JWB have any interest in selling their homes to these institutional buyers, or 100% committed to selling to individual investors?
We love our business model. Our business model is to serve what the institutional guys would call mom and pop investors. I don't call them mom and pop investors, but the big institutional guys, they want to sell thousands of properties at one time to some hedge fund or whatnot. That's not us. We love the personal relationships. We love working with a family and helping them grow from 3 properties to 10 properties or 15 properties over a 10, 15-year relationship. That's really what fires us up. We love working with folks that are nearing retirement and they are coming from the stock market and they're saying, I can't afford for there to be a big dip. And how do I take this, $1 million of assets and turn that into, 10 rental properties and figuring out which ones need financing, which ones don't, and working together there. So that at the end of the day, they have much more peace of mind going into retirement. So that's the type of story. In fact, if you talk to our team, one of the questions we're going to ask you when we bring you on board is, why are we investing? Why is this important for you? Because we care. We really care about that personalized approach. So, and, quite frankly, our model doesn't work for the institutional guys as well, right? They don't really value customer service. They don't really value, property management as it should. They tend to think of it more of as a commodity. And so for us, we think those 2 things right there are the biggest opportunities for us to serve clients. And so if you're working with an institution, it just doesn't work. The numbers don't work. But more than that, it's just not fun for us. We really like working with individuals. So that's what we're committed to.
Love it, man. All right. Damian On's got a question.
Mm-hmm.
We know GC has a large portfolio. By the way, new name that I don't recognize. Damian, welcome to the show. Happy to have you, buddy. We know GC has a large portfolio of rental properties. Are they all in Jacksonville or are they spread out to different cities? I'm asking because at some point, depending on the number of properties one owns, there may be some risk of concentration. Perhaps it's overblown. It would be great to get GC's thoughts on this. Thank you.
Wonderful question, Damian. Thanks for being on the show. It's something that I get that question every so often. My properties, the properties that I own with my business partners are all here in Jacksonville. We have about 300 properties that are in our company portfolio. They are all in the exact same neighborhoods that I share with you and recommend for you to put your money into. So they're right around No Road and they're right around the properties of the week that you can see. If you go to the website, JWB Inventory, you can see those neighborhoods. That's where our assets are as well. So now when you're thinking about risk, right? People say, well, geez, I don't know if I want to have all of my properties in Jacksonville. Maybe I want to be in different markets. I mean, I understand that as well. I just think that there's a lot of different places to identify risk. And as an investor, you have to understand, where are you most comfortable taking some risk to get outsized returns, right? So for me, and for our investors, I think the biggest risk is not having effective property management. I think if you don't have effective property management, you're not going to be in the game long enough to get the biggest returns on investment. Because if we're thinking about risk mitigation and positive cash flow, you don't get positive cash flow and a great experience over a 10-year, 20-year period unless you have effective property management. So that's the biggest risk for investors. Now, for me personally and for our clients, that comes down to the team. And, obviously I'm biased, but I'm not going anywhere else other than my team. So that's a big part of it for me. And my team, we're committed to Jacksonville. We're not going to other markets. So that's a big part of it for me. The next thing for me is what to do if there was a big event, a natural disaster that hit Jacksonville, and then all 300 of the properties that I own were no more, right? That's why you have a wonderful insurance teammate. That's why you have insurance in place to give you peace of mind, right? Every so often, a big storm comes through Jacksonville. And I tell you, I do lose sleep over one thing, is making sure that our residents are taken care of. And ultimately our clients are taken care of, and the trees that might get knocked down or things like that. That's what we lose sleep over. I don't lose any sleep over my 300 rental properties because they're insured. You have adequate insurance in place. And so the risk of a catastrophe from having all of your properties in a market like Jacksonville or in any other market out there is lessened because of insurance. So, for those two, and then of course the market dynamics, I think Jacksonville is the best market. History shows us, and data really shows us too, that you can't get positive cash flow in other markets and growth historically like you can in Jacksonville. There's just no other market that compares. So you take all of those things into account. And for me personally, Jacksonville is the only place that I hold my rental assets. And for clients, some go down that path as well. There are conversations that we have about it might not be the right thing for you to have all of your assets in Jacksonville. Maybe you have another investment company, another property management company that you love as much as JWB in another market. Maybe there's something related to where you are in your financial plan that determines you need more cash flow. And, if you get no growth, that's okay. So we may tell you to go in other places or take some of your portfolio to go other places. But for me, and I would say the majority of clients, it's focused on that team first. And then of course, once you have insurance in place, which we help you with, then a lot of clients keep the majority of their assets here in Jacksonville.
There you go. Makes sense to me. Final question, GC. Daniel Lee with another great question. I heard Alex talk about the Emerald Trail on a recent webinar. It's a show, Daniel. It's a show, not a webinar, just so you know. And it sounds awesome. Will there be any JWB investment properties that will be on that trail?
Well, Pablo, Alex does do other online engagements. It might have been another webinar, just to give Daniel some credit. We are not the only show in the universe, just so you know.
You're right, Daniel. I didn't mean to take it so personally. Just I'll just assume that if it was somewhere else, it might have been a webinar. It wasn't as much fun, but here it's a show, buddy.
Oh man, the Emerald Trail, Daniel, is this amazing project that not enough people know about, but call it 5 years from now, it is one of the triggers of growth for downtown Jacksonville. The Emerald Trail, for those who aren't aware, is actually, I posted something in the Facebook group about this not too long ago. I'll go ahead and I'll post another article about it afterwards. But the Emerald Trail is this trail that is going through, I think, 16 different neighborhoods, all in the downtown area. It's connecting different neighborhoods, different schools, universities, different places for people to eat and drink and play in downtown Jacksonville, as well as to get to other places, to other amenities. I think it's like 30 miles of trails. And we don't have anything in Jacksonville like this before. And so it is a multi-year project. But the really cool thing is that they're breaking ground now. The first two legs of it are funded. The first leg is breaking ground right now. And to your question of does JWB hold assets that would be impacted by the Emerald Trail, the answer is yes. So we've done a couple of shows on our commitment to downtown Jacksonville, and JWB has purchased 5 buildings over the last year and a half that are on Hogan Street in downtown Jacksonville. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to be a part of the growth of downtown. All of our investors will benefit because property values will rise as we get more residents living downtown, all these good things. Well, we looked at where the Emerald Trail was potentially going to go, and we made the decision partly to buy these assets because we believe in the impact that the Emerald Trail is going to have. It's going to create wider streets along Hogan Street. It's going to make what we believe Hogan Street will be this wonderful restaurant bar type of street, kind of like a destination within Jacksonville, a main thoroughfare for bars, restaurants, and amenities. So specifically, if you look on Hogan Street, that's the second leg of the Emerald Trail. And we bought the Seminole downtown building and the old Federal Reserve building. If you want to Google some of these things, Google JWB Old Federal Reserve building, you'll see where it is on Hogan Street, or you can Google, Emerald Trail, and it's going to be really impactful. It's going to help be another amenity that's going to bring a lot of residents downtown as we continue to try to get to that 10,000 resident threshold.
So short answer, yes, Emerald Trail is coming. JWB is perfectly positioned to do it. We've done multiple shows on Jacksonville. We also had, was it like 6-7 months ago? We had Wernick in here talking about, we had a land use attorney that's an expert in trail-oriented development. It's really, really exciting thing. The ROI for cities is astronomical, and it's a fascinating little wormhole to go down when it comes to real estate development and understanding. And you guys are positioned right in the middle of it. We had one last minute question come in from Greg Stones about options based on purchasing through a retirement account and a non-recourse loan. Greg, we did an episode on that on Tuesday, so you can go back and check that out with Jason DeBono. That'll come out on the podcast and on YouTube on Monday, or it's live in the Facebook group. We've mentioned the Facebook group a bunch of times today, so if you're new to the call today, we highly, highly recommend you join us. Go to jwbfacebookgroup.com. And Greg, to your answer, the easiest way to just really go through your options is go to chatwithjwb.com and just hop on the call with Courtney, and she'll talk you through everything that you need to know. GC, another great show on a Thursday, buddy. We had close to 50 people with us today on a Thursday. We never take that for granted, that you take time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us for an hour. It's really, really what we look forward to the most every single week, especially this Thursday show, right? Like I love the POTW. This Tuesday coming up, we're going to thank you, Marilyn. Another great show. That's right. This Tuesday coming up, we're going to have Adam Walbars coming up, and he recently refinanced a bunch of his properties. So he's going to talk through the way that he did it, the benefits, the costs, how he evaluates opportunities. Adam's a super sharp software sales guy out of New York. He's got really, really great formulas on analyzing deals and communication and stuff like that. So I'm sure we're going to get into a bunch of great life tips and everything, but we're going to be talking about refinancing. There's never been a better time to refinance anything that you're owning right now. Again, hope that you got the value you wanted out of rental property investing, that you got the value you wanted out of property management. We talked a little bit about that. If you're a real estate professional looking for some extra opportunities and an edge in Jacksonville market, the next step is go to chatwithjwb.com, hop on a call with the team. Let's make it all happen for you. And it's been fun, GC. I'll leave you up to the last words here.
Yeah, everybody, thank you for being here. I want to throw something out to you guys. We've been thinking about ways to continue to grow the show and grow the impact of the show. And Pablo and I, before the show here today, we're kicking around the idea of adding a component of letting folks attend live for the show. So if you're here in Jacksonville, we could figure out a way to be able to kind of like a live radio show, maybe type of thing, and have like a live studio audience or whatever we wanted to do. So just thought I'd throw it out there to the group and see if you guys, especially those of you who are local here, if you guys would like to come into the JWB office. Be cool to get some feedback there so we could plan in advance and see if it's something that we wanted to do. So yeah, I'll put it into the group as well. I know a lot of you are really active there. If you could give us some feedback, if it's something you think you'd like to do on a regular basis, once in a while, that'd be really cool for us. And we'll keep on keeping on growing the show then.
Love it, buddy. I love that you are, I love that we're evolving into this live experience and some face-to-face as the world opens up, man. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. See you next Tuesday.
Looking forward to it, brother. See you guys.
Adios.